Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Chinese metaphysics master in Hong Kong. Today we're going to go back to our Bazi chart and have a look at how we can identify a potential block in our sacral chakra just by looking at our Bazi chart, and then obviously how we can dissolve this block. Last week I posted a video on the root chakra, so if you haven't watched that, maybe you want to go back and watch that first. Today we're focusing on the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra, and we are analyzing this mostly in terms of wealth, because this is one of the issues that most people are most concerned with, especially nowadays. And obviously when or if we know whether or not we are actually born with an innate sacral chakra block, this is definitely something we need to work on. Now, the first thing is that you plot your Bazi chart. So I have the link here on the screen. You can just follow this link or go to the notes of the video. I've posted the URL there as well. And then you just need to type in your date and time of birth. Now, it is important that you key in your time of birth as well, because for this type of analysis, we do need the time of birth. Even if it's just approximate, then just pick a time that is around that approximate time and enter it into the plotter so that we can get the hour pillar, which is this part here. Let me show you. So this is the hour pillar. And this is actually a big part of this particular analysis. So once you have plotted your chart, you will get something like this. I mean, it looks much more complex on your screen, but we're focusing solely on this part in your Bazi chart. And the two elements we are focusing on for today are the hour stem and the branch, the day branch. Now, we are not so concerned with the Chinese character or with the name of it or the 10 god. What you need to check is what element do you have here in the stem and what element do you have here. Only those two elements are important. Those are the ones we are looking at. In this case, we have metal here in the hour stem and we have fire here in the day branch. Yeah, all the rest we are not concerned with. Just look at those two elements. All right. Now, once you have identified those elements, it's then important to know whether or not there is a clash or a countering between those elements to identify the actual block. So there are only 5 elemental counterings that can appear, and they then translate into blocks. So there's 5 different counterings. Fire counters metal, metal counters wood, wood counters earth, earth counters water, and water counters fire. All right, so these are the only 5 that exist. And when you have one of these 5 counterings present in those two aspects that we're looking at, then you have a block. So let me show you this. So we are concerned with the hour stem, this one here, the hour stem and the day branch, yeah? And up here we have metal, and here we have fire, right? And this demarcates the sacral chakra. So if you have a countering here, then your sacral chakra is considered blocked. Yeah, and this is a block that you have brought in maybe from a past life, or that appeared very early on in childhood. So in this particular case, there is indeed a block because metal and fire are one of the counterings, one of the 5 counterings from the previous slide. Yeah. If it were, for example, metal and water, there would be no countering, no clash at all. If it were wood and fire, also not a problem. So really only if you have the 2 elements there that are considered a countering, and there's only 5 different types. So in this particular case, we have metal and fire, which means that the sacral chakra of this particular person is indeed considered blocked. And the sacral chakra has mainly to do with desire, with our ability to experience pleasure, with creativity, or our ability to express our creativity. It has to do with worthiness. Yeah, do you feel worthy? Do you feel enough? Do you feel good enough? It also has to do with worry. And it has to do with connections. Are you able to make connections, honest and deep felt connections with people? So if there's a block present in your natal chart, in the sacral chakra, then all of these aspects will naturally be affected. Now, the symptoms, especially now when we're focusing on wealth and financials, is then that you tend, if you have a block there, you tend to always question whether or not you actually deserve money. Yeah, so do I actually deserve to earn that much? Do I deserve to ask for money? Do I deserve to ask for a raise, for example? So you're always question these things, and then most of the times you come to the conclusion, no, I'm probably not good enough to ask for more money, or I'm not good enough to deserve to receive that loan, or whatever it is that you're worried about. Yeah, so it's about deserving money. You constantly have these kind of questions, whether they are conscious or subconscious. They are a constant feature in your life. Now, sacral chakra block, when it comes to financial, also manifests in financial problems or money problems in relationships. And that doesn't just mean in romantic relationships or in a marriage, but there's always, your relationships are always somehow struggling when it comes to money. Yeah, so maybe you argue with your boyfriend or with your husband or with your wife about money all the time. Should we buy this car? No, we don't have the money. And then a big argument ensues. Or maybe you've lent a friend some money and they don't pay you back, and that friendship falls apart. Yeah, that's also a financial problem, money problem in relationships. Or maybe within the family, maybe there's an inheritance and you think you didn't get enough, or whatever it is. Yeah, so there's always money problems in relationships. Doesn't mean that every single relationship is affected by this, but a lot of the time, as you notice, your arguments or your discontent or your disagreements in relationships surrounds money. Now, those who have a sacral chakra block also very often don't charge enough for their work, especially if they're entrepreneurs, or if they work for themselves, if you have a side gig, yeah, something like that. Now, those people then feel very uncomfortable charging money or asking for money. And so they either don't ask for money at all, or they just charge very, very little. Now, this obviously then leads to a lot of discontent. You're like, even though you are the one who's responsible for not charging enough, you are then really, really unhappy with what you earn from your work. So it's really important that you learn to not ask for money, because you're actually doing something for that money. You're doing work, but you need to charge appropriately. Yeah, you need to make sure that you recognize your worth. Either that, or you overcharge for your work. Yeah, you charge way, way more than is actually warranted. So there's just not a proper balance in money issues, especially when it comes to work. So these are the kind of symptoms. You may express one of them or all of them in your life when you have a sacral chakra block, but on some level you will experience most of these issues at some point in your life. Now, what are the causes for these sacral chakra blocks when you see them in your Bazi chart? So it could be that maybe your creativity has been suppressed from a very, very young age on. It could be that maybe you wanted to become a painter or a singer or just be a creative person, but your parents pushed you into a profession where you were unable to express this creativity. Same thing with emotions. Yeah, if you're constantly told you should not cry, you should not be angry, you cannot just express your emotions so outwardly, that also leads to a block in the sacral chakra. So obviously repressed hobbies and passions. Again, this goes to repressed creativity. If you were never able to actually follow your passions, even if it's just maybe an hour a week, you want to go and take a painting lesson, or you want to go and do photography, but you're unable to do that because your parents don't allow you. You should do math, for example, or you should study for school or do something else. that then leads over time to repressed passions. It also then leads to you overlooking your own uniqueness, because we all express ourselves in creative ways. We all want to somehow be unique in some way or another. But if you're not allowed to ever express that, that then leads to a block in your sacral chakra, because you are just constantly trying to fit in. Yeah, you want to be like everybody else, even though deep down you feel deeply unhappy about this. It could also be caused by sexual trauma. I don't need to explain that a lot, but sexual trauma is one of these very, very serious issues that can lead to a sacral chakra block. And if that has happened to you, then obviously there's more work needed than just what I'm explaining here. And then obviously rejection is a big cause of a sacral chakra block. If you've maybe been rejected by your parents, or you're rejected by your peers, by your friends, maybe by a very important relationship, you feel rejection. And if this happens over and over again, then this constant rejection or this fear of rejection also leads to a block, and you're no longer able to express your emotions fully, express your creativity. Yeah. Now, what are the strategies? What can you do to actually remove yourself from this block, or to release this block at least a little bit? So this is obviously only if you are dealing with just a generic sacral chakra block. If you have experienced sexual trauma, for example, this is definitely something that you need much, much more help with. But if we're talking about just a generic sacral chakra block, there are certain strategies that you can employ to get a grip of that block and maybe slowly over time dissolve it. So one of the strategies is to just let go of the need to control everything. If we experience a sacral chakra block, we often just want to control everything in our lives. We tend to micromanage everything. And the moment we cannot micromanage, or the moment then something happens that is out of our control, our own life seems to completely fall apart. So it's important that you learn to let go of certain things, and learn to just say, well, you know, I can't control everything. It is what it is. Now, I don't want you to be fatalistic. Yeah, that's not what we're trying to do here. But you need to understand that there are just certain things that you cannot control. You cannot control politics. You cannot control the environment. You cannot control economics, macroeconomics. All those are things you cannot control. You can only control how you react to these situations, and you need to learn to let go of this need to control. Now, it's also important that you connect to your emotions better and make peace with your emotions and feelings. A lot of times we only acknowledge the good emotions and feelings, and the bad things, the things that make us feel bad, like grief or sadness or jealousy or disappointment, we just tend to just kind of, you know, push all the way back down into your stomach, and there it festers. But it's okay to sometimes feel really upset. It's absolutely okay to just sit down and cry for a while if that is what's needed. So you really need to connect your emotion to your emotions better. And if you feel like you just need to scream, then by all means go ahead and do it. You know, maybe scream into a pillow, but let it out. If you feel that you're really sad right now, then just go find a quiet space and just cry, or just somehow let it out, or do something that makes you feel better. Don't repress your emotions and feelings. That's essentially the thing. And then also explore your creativity and spontaneity. That goes especially for those who had their hobbies and passions and creativity repressed. Yeah, go and explore and just try to find your passion again. Do something that's completely unrelated to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, explore photography, explore singing, painting, dancing, whatever, or just do whatever it is that you feel like you want to do right now, rather than, I don't know, accounting or operational stuff for your company or whatever. But don't repress that. Yeah, if you feel like you really want to take a course on knitting, then by all means go ahead and do that. Yeah, if you feel that, no, I just want to I want to be unique in that I learn the most bizarre language that's out there, or the most unique or rare language, then go ahead and learn it. Do something different. Yeah, be a little bit crazy. So this is really, really important, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. Yeah, you can take small baby steps, but it's important that you recognize first whether or not a block exists, and then you can actually recognize the patterns that you may have fallen into, the traps, and then devise strategies to get out of those traps. All right, so this is the sacral chakra. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned a little bit about this. And next week, we are going to look at the solar plexus chakra and how you can detect that in your Bazi chart. If you do have any questions, as always, please just comment or contact me directly. My contact details are in the notes below. And please do like, comment, and share this video with anybody who may be interested. See you soon.